In cash from us could make your new year go with a bang.
Hi, my name's Victoria. I won the Spring Great British giveaway. So the day we got the money in our bank account, everything just felt a lot lighter. I would say if you're thinking about entering, just enter.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11 only on GB News.
Estelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This was thought to be a Ruskin. Ruskin was a very considerable polymath, an artist as well as many other things. So do you know why it was submitted for reappraisal? Was there a bit of a suspicion that it had been misidentified?
No, as you say, it's a service that Christie's offer. You can submit an artwork that you have, so anyone can submit it and request an estimate. And then the auction house's appraisal service allows you space as well to describe it and ask for evaluation. And Christie's sort of looked at it behind the sheet of dirty old glass and recognised a sort of Turner-esque mood and feel and ambience about it. And because there was this close relationship between Ruskin and Turner, which is fascinating, we'll come on to that shortly, but they sort of felt, well, the brushstrokes are very strong, the line is very economic, and the colour of the palette seems to be rather Turner-esque. And then they called in a specialist paper historian who confirmed that actually the paper that was used was one that Turner favoured himself. So yes, it was originally considered to be by Ruskin, but then we discovered something more magnificent. And don't forget, what's really interesting, now it's for sale. The lucky buyer is not just buying a picture. The lucky buyer is buying a life story, a relationship that actually changed the course of art history because of the relationship between Ruskin and Turner themselves.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out. As the clock ticks down on Biden, he hands Trump a propaganda gift by making Trump the saviour of TikTok. And Jeremy Corbyn has had his collar on his donkey jacket felt by the police. I bet Jeremy loved that. He got to relive his youth and pretend he's some oppressed, brutalised victim. And another teacher has been forced into hiding by Muslims, not in Afghanistan, but right here in Britain. You can find out the connection with the Manchester airport attackers later in the show. I'm Leo Kirsten. Tonight I've got two of the best comedians and political commentators in the business, Simon Evans and Paul Cox, taking you through Monday's top stories. This is Headliners. And before we kick off with the show, let's cross live to Washington, where Donald Trump is speaking at a rally ahead of his inauguration.
Somebody I'm very proud of. He's doing a great job. He's been subpoenaed more than any human being in history, I believe. Every day he'd get a subpoena from Congress on something, oh, bullshit. But he'd get a subpoena. He's got a PhD in subpoenas. But he did a fantastic job. And Don, you know all about Don, how he did. He's great. He's very popular, too. He knows a lot about guns, I want to tell you that. We had, by the way, I have to tell you, we had great support from every gun group, including the NRA. It's really worked hard. And Ivanka and Jared are here. And Tiffany and Michael are here. and Barron and my 10 incredible grandchildren, and another one coming through Tiffany. And of course, I want to thank our next Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, wherever he may be. There's a lot of people. Wherever the hell he is, he's here someplace. It's a lot of people. It's a little tough when you say, where is he? You know, you got a lot of people in here. But J.D. Vance has been extraordinary. And he's got an unbelievable wife, the Second Lady of the United States, Usha Vance. So, Usha, thank you very much. It's a beautiful couple, great people. We're also pleased to be joined tonight by Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster. The Hulkster. One thing, it's not hard to find him. All he has to do is stand up and you say, there he is. But he's great. And Kid Rock, wow. Kid Rock is a friend of mine. He's a friend of mine for a long, long time. He did that thing on Budweiser. Budweiser will never be the same, when he did the gun with a MAGA hat. That was the commercial that everybody saw. Also with us tonight is a great actor, tremendously talented guy, Jon Voight, who's great, and a friend of mine. And Sylvester Stallone is here. Great guy. And you know, I got Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, and Jon Voight to become ambassadors to Hollywood, California, to put it back on track. So they're all ambassadors. You have to refer to them as ambassador, Mr. Ambassador. And a man who's got an army of young people, Charlie Kirk, is here. And I want to thank Charlie. Charlie is fantastic. I mean, this guy, don't believe the stuff when you hear the kids are liberal. They're not liberal. Maybe they used to be, but they're not anymore. You got to see how many people are for us. And I want to thank Megyn Kelly. She's been terrific. She's been really great. And Billy Ray Cyrus. And Lee Greenwood, wow, has he been something. What a song and what a man. And you know, by the way, these microphones, you see the microphones? I said, what the hell are those microphones doing standing behind me? You're going to have a little special treat at the end of this speech. I don't want to tell you because you'll rush me off the stage. Get off the stage. But you have a little special treat. And I won't tell you, but let's put it this way. It's the people that 30 years ago had a hot song, never hit #1, hit #5. But 30 years later, it hit #1 week after week. And they're here to sing. They're here to sing. For you. And you won't recognize them. They're slightly larger than they used to be, but that's the way life goes. We can all tell you, that's the way life goes. There's nothing we can do about that. Sebastian Gorka, stand up, Sebastian. I see Sebastian here. There's a patriot. He's been with me through thick and thin, right, Sebastian? Now he's with the administration. Thank you. Great guy. And again, I want to thank Elon for what he did in Pennsylvania. He worked so hard. He worked so hard in Pennsylvania. A great guy, and a man who is a champion. A man who took something from nothing. Everybody said, this is something will never work. It's too violent. But he understood people. He said they like violence, unfortunately, right? But a man who understood fighting better than any man ever. There's never been anything like this. What Dana White did with the UFC and building it into a monster sport franchise. So I want to thank Dana White of USC for being here. And Dana, you've done a job like nobody could have done. Thank you. A great guy and a friend of mine. A great friend of mine. He's a tough cookie. You want him on your side at all times. Every one of those people you want on your side. And we have dozens of other celebrities and everything, but we're going to get back to what we're doing. But I do want to say, in the audience, we have many governors, many senators, many members of Congress, and other distinguished guests, far too many to name, unless you'd like me to name them. No? Do you want me to name governors, senators, and congresspeople? No. I thought you were going to say that. Sorry, governors. No, but we appreciate all of the love that we've gotten from them. I'll tell you, our House and our Senate Republicans have been unbelievable, and the governors are unbelievable, the job they're doing. Of the crime-ridden cities, the top 25, every single one of them is run by a Democrat. Does that tell you something? We don't have problems in the Republican cities. Tonight, I also want to send our love to everyone affected by the terrible wildfires raging in California. We're praying for you all. We love you all. We're going to be there very soon. I'm going to go out there on Friday to see it and to get it moving back. We're going to get some of the best builders in the world, and we'll get it moving back. And I also want to pay my respects to the great people of North Carolina. You know, I won it every single time, and they've been treated very badly. FEMA almost didn't know it existed, and we're going to get North Carolina rocking and rolling, okay? We're going to get them rocking and rolling. They've been treated very badly as a state. Together we will rebuild Los Angeles better, more beautiful than ever before. We're going to get it going. We have the best builders in the world. It's the only people that could do it. Nobody else knows what the hell they're doing. And in 2028, the Los Angeles Olympics will be one of the great sporting events and patriotic celebrations in history. I was with Gianni, the head of the Olympics, and because of the wildfires, they're going to do a special job. They're going to really do something very special on the Olympics. And the opposite, some people said, oh, maybe the Olympics can't go there. It turned out just the opposite. They came to see me the other day, and the committee, and it's just the opposite. So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, you know, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026, and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So, Johnny, thank you for the World Cup, and everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time. We have another thing happening, 250 years, a celebration like no other, 250 years. And that's going to be taking place next year. So we have a lot of big events coming. And everything we do everything. We take it very, very seriously. But what do we do more than anything else? We put America first. And it all starts tomorrow when I raise my hand on the Bible to be sworn as we'll be sworn in tomorrow. We're all going to be sworn in together. That's the way I look at it. It's not me, it's you. Greatest of all time. So we will be sworn in tomorrow. I'll be representing you as your 47th President of the United States. And just in conclusion, together we're going to cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, getting them back down, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to the USA, right where they belong, and that'll be done through tariffs and smart policy. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American. I will end the war in Ukraine, I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening, and you have no idea how close we are. We will crush violent crime in our cities and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect they so dearly deserve. We will strengthen and modernize our military again. We did it. We rebuilt our entire military. And then they gave billions and billions of dollars of it to, you remember, to the Taliban. They gave it to the Taliban. They gave our military equipment, a big chunk of it, to the enemy. Do you know that we pay billions of dollars a year? Do you know this? Does anyone know this? To Afghanistan? Do you know that? And I say, if we're going to pay billions of dollars a year, tell them we're not going to give them the money unless they give back our military equipment that these poor, stupid people allowed for them to have. So we'll give them a couple of bucks. We want the military equipment back. We will rebuild our once great cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. And we want to make this city again safe. We don't want people coming to Washington and getting mugged, shot, killed. We're going to stop it. Law enforcement, and they have very good police here, but they have to be allowed to do their job. We're going to stop it. We're going to beautify it. We're going to make it the most beautiful capital in the world. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our schools. And always remember, this is so easy, this will be done tomorrow. We will keep men out of women's sports. It's over. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech, and I will defend the right to keep and bear arms. We're going to defend that. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country, defend our borders, and protect our citizens. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. We will be a free and proud nation once again, and that will take place tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Everyone in our country will prosper, every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and also filled with a thing called the American dream that you don't hear much about anymore. For the past 9 years, you and I fought side by side against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth, and in our magnificent victory on November 5th, you showed them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, and from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was won and built by generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers, coal miners, police officers, and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle stand in their path. Nothing could get in their way. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built the great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and launched American astronauts to the moon. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and 75 days ago on November 5th, it was hardworking patriots like you who saved our country. You saved our country. Now, after all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise and we will rebuild the nation that we all love so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down, and we will never, ever, ever, ever surrender. We will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a great victory for everybody. Thank you, America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Donald Trump there, just giving a speech before his inauguration tomorrow. And interestingly, a few of the headliners have actually been writing for the inauguration, for people's speeches at the inauguration. I know I have, Jonathan Cogan has, I'm sure some of the other people have as well. But hello, and welcome to Slightly Delayed Headliners. It's your first look at tomorrow's top stories with 3 top comedians. Let's kick off with a look at some of the front pages. The Express has home after 471 days in hell. That is some of the hostages released from Gaza. The Telegraph has Starmer races for Trump trade deal. The Times has 3 hostages are freed into their mother's arms. The Express has home. Oh no, we've got that. We've got that. Oh no, we're talking about these now. So let's look. It's like, what on earth is that? We're talking about these now. We're going to look at the Daily Express. It's got home after 471 days in hell. The hostages are released and they must have some experience, Simon.
Yes, that's right. That front page with some close-up photographs, particularly of British hostage Emily Damari, who is tasting freedom. She can literally taste it, smacking her lips there. She is also featured on the front page of The Times. 3 hostages freed into their mother's arms there as well. So, yeah, obviously it's marvellous news for those hostages. And in a broader sense, it does seem as though Trump's imminent inauguration has sped up the process somewhat. I don't know whether the Biden administration wanted to get the credit for it. It's odd, to be honest, for a man of my age, seeing this happen so shortly after the funeral of Jimmy Carter, who, of course, was finished basically over his mishandling of a hostage crisis that was very much leveraged by the next administration. But anyway, things are off to a good start. What they haven't focused on, of course, on those front pages is quite how much negotiation has gone on with Palestinian prisoners or hostages being released. As we know, those people are not straightforwardly sort of captured randomly from a music event, but are dangerous criminals. So, of course, they haven't been sort of welcomed into their mother's arms.
And there's a lot more of them being released than there are. I mean, because there are only, 94, 97 hostages,
well, they say
Israeli hostages
90.
left. And some of them are actually dead, so it would be bodies being released, sadly.
The first 90 Palestinian prisoners were released in exchange for the hostages handed over to the Red Cross.
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing the amount of Hamas that are outside that van that Emily climbed out of. It was great to see her. She looked well, as far as we can tell. Bandages on her hands, so she's been through. I cannot begin to imagine what she's been through and her family have been through.
But you're right. There's so many Hamas operatives. It looks like the Green Party conference.
It does look a little bit like that, doesn't it? It certainly looks like the momentum gathering, but the wider shots, which you can't see on here, there are literally hundreds of Hamas-clad soldiers there. I'm not sure why they need so many. She doesn't seem perturbed by that. She obviously knows that she's on her way to freedom. And this is a celebration of that, really, isn't it, rather than talking about Hamas at this point.
And the Daily Express, they've sold the other third of their front page to the National Trust, a free family pass for the National Trust.
I mean, it goes well with...
might be a nice way to go out.
Perhaps they should offer Emily...
sanitizer, yeah.
Free one to Emil. And moving on to the Telegraph.
Yeah, Telegraph. Now we've got a bunch of... The Telegraph's a great newspaper. It's got so many good stories on the front page. Starmer races for Trump. Trade deal. Good luck with that, Starmer. Having an architect of the Chagos deal in PM's mini cabinet could complete efforts to woo new president. Also, good luck with that, Starmer. So the story here, really, I'm just going to read some of the fine print because I think it's important. So Keir Starmer has stepped up his efforts to secure a trade deal with Donald Trump as the president-elect takes power today. The Prime Minister has set up a mini cabinet of senior ministers to draw up ways to persuade the incoming US president to come to an agreement.
Do you think it's going to work? I mean,
I don't. The reason I read this is because it's very, very hopeful. I mean, the Telegraph here are just reporting on this, but it's very, very hopeful that Keir Starmer and any cabinet he assembles can actually produce something that reaches agreement with Donald Trump in any way.
When you're using the word hopeful there, you mean ludicrously optimistic?
Yeah, ludicrously. Absolutely no chance is what I would say. I think, you know...
Especially as he says with Jonathan Powell, who is the National Security Advisor, is on this panel, and he is somebody who Trump has already identified as an idiot, a loser, you know, because they regard the Chagos deal as... And I think, objectively speaking, I would tend to agree with that analysis, you know.
Yeah, and it's quite sort of refreshing to see Trump come in with a more robust, aggressive foreign policy. I mean, to the extent of possibly seizing Denmark, or seizing Greenland.
Maybe it's Denmark now.
Canada. And maybe even, you know, God willing, seizing Britain. That'd be great. I mean, we used to be part of the same country.
I mean, you will hear a lot of voices on the left saying this is terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. It's not. We need to hear this. Because all we've heard is voices from the left on this stuff, and we have to look west, and we have to get an agreement with the US to stand any chance of not capitulating under what is some sort of neo-communism in this country.
And there is a difference as well, I think, to put a positive spin on it, that with the Biden administration, he was fundamentally hostile to Britain as an entity, because he identified as Irish, you know, and he had all kinds of ancestral resentments. But I think Trump, who likes to think of himself as part Scots, part German, and they love to kind of, you know, identify their European roots. Musk genuinely does regard his English heritage as important to him. What they hate is the Starmer administration. But they would love to see Britain released from that. They would love to see her sprung from that socialist jail.
So would I.
And so would we.
Talking of the Starmer administration and this sort of neo-communism, there's a story here about Santander may quit the UK because of red tape. I mean, this is when we look at the Starmer government putting up taxes, we think about the financial side, but there's also the administrative burden of running a business in the UK. And this is, we're not just pushing millionaires out of the country, record numbers of millionaires are leaving, but we're also pushing businesses out of the country.
We absolutely are. I mean,
there's no upside to it.
No, there is. We can't. It's very difficult.
Train driver.
It's very difficult to add balance. You know, you kind of want from this perspective just to add some balance, so we're not all coming across as we actually think. But it's very, very difficult. Millionaires going, banks going. Who's left? Because it's never the cream of the crop that's left, is it?
As David Paxton, one of my mutuals on X, formerly Twitter, put it, you know, by identifying an imaginary 20 billion black hole, Rachel Reeves has actually created one. The measures that she's taken to try and fill that.
And the increased cost of borrowing?
Increased cost of borrowing, the gilt's going up, the billionaires leaving, all of the tax base leaving. I mean, it can be turned around. You know, it is a marathon, not a sprint. But it's not a question of just introducing necessary pain early on. They've absolutely trashed the place. They've
introduced the wrong kind of pain. It was just pain with no upside. It wasn't like Millet. It was like Ceausescu. Moving on to the Times side, we've got that story about Donald Trump and TikTok, which seems to be a ridiculous propaganda gift from the Democrats to Donald Trump.
Yes, it's very intriguing, this, exactly what's going on. There have been a number of significant complaints made about TikTok over the years. One of them we've acknowledged on this show several times, which is that in China, TikTok is used as a sort of educational aid for young people. It's like flashcards or something.
Yeah, there's no sort of lessons on how to transition and how to be a prostitute. It's all maths.
There's no OnlyFans. There's no just endless time wasting. I mean, it does seem to have an extraordinarily powerful algorithm, which just overwhelms all mental resistance. So there's that problem. Is it a burden on productivity? Is it warping teenagers' minds? Then there's the fear that it is being used by the Chinese Communist Party themselves to harvest data And that's a significant issue. And then the other issue, which I don't think is anything much as a principle, but it's perhaps significant, is that it is a significant revenue, and America don't feel that should be going to China either, because they have so much control over the other major social media platforms. And it's hard to know which one of these the proposed deals are actually attempting to address, because they seem to want, they think that 50% ownership will be all right. Well, that's certainly not going to cure the content issue.
Yeah, or the risk of data going to China. And there's also another issue, Paul, in that we're seeing governments step in, left-wing governments step in and shut down social media sites. I mean, Brazil shut down Twitter, or X as some people call it, and the EU are talking about shutting down Twitter as well. And it worries me that platforms can just be whipped away, and that entire marketplace of ideas in Town Square can just be taken away from people. It's a real affront to free speech.
Yeah, there's a real confliction in my own mind about this. I don't want media to be cancelled. I don't want media to be thwarted and shut down in any way. Whatever it is, even if I disagree with it, I want it to be there. However, there is an element, the Chinese element to this is a worry. So, the fact that perhaps the Chinese aren't stupid and they know that certain aspects of the Western world that will look at this stuff are stupid and they can take advantage of that. And do you know what? Do we allow it? I think Simon and I were discussing this before. They're only offering a 50% buyout. 50% won't fix the problems. If China are doing malevolent things, they can still do those malevolent things with 50% ownership.
So maybe if the company is a forced sale to an American or a Western entity would solve that problem?
Potentially. I mean, I don't have any issue per se with TikTok. It doesn't. I have used it before, but the idea that we just ban it completely, I'm very uncomfortable with. But however, that's how you get to us.
I know you've used it. I've seen those dances, Paul, and I don't want to see those again. Well, that's the front page is done. Join us after the break to find out how Trump saved TikTok. No, we've covered that. Biden's legacy looks shakier than his bike ride, and a Labour civil war erupts over grooming gangs. It's a hard one to pick a side in. See you in a couple of minutes.
Hello there, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Hope you've had a lovely weekend, though count yourself lucky if you have seen some sunshine. Most of us have been plagued by gloomy and grey skies, and this is continuing into this evening and overnight. There'll be some outbreaks of light rain and drizzle around, particularly for Northern Ireland and Western Scotland. Eastern Scotland, other areas of England and Wales could see the cloud breaking at times tonight, but underneath those clearer spells, temperatures will drop off and we could see some patchy frost around to start off Monday morning. Even if you don't see the frost, it is certainly going to be a chilly start to the new week for the vast majority of us. There could be also some mist and fog patches around first thing, so it is just worth taking a little care when you're travelling back to work on Monday morning in case those are around. These outbreaks of rain then will be across coastal areas of County Down, stretching into Dumfries and Galloway in the central belt of Scotland first thing on Monday. Northern and western areas of Scotland starting to see some clearer and brighter spells developing, and really it is northern Scotland that has the greatest chance of seeing some sunshine on Monday. This will be coming though with some showers that will start feeding into the far northwest. Some of those could be quite heavy at times, with some hail, even thunder in the mixture as well. The outbreaks of rain just pushing their way into northern England, stretching into parts of Wales as well. Otherwise, it is once again going to be a largely cloudy day. Temperatures ranging between 4 and 9 degrees Celsius. On Tuesday, we see an area of low pressure just push its way a little bit further towards the northwest of the UK, and an included front here will help to pep up some of those showers across northwestern areas of Scotland in particular. So again, it's a case of scattered showers with some brighter or sunnier spells here once any of that morning fog clears its way off. We've got another band that will still be lingering across more central and northern areas of England into Tuesday, but perhaps elsewhere Tuesday will see the greater chance of some sunshine developing at times. But it won't last for too long, because into the rest of next week it is likely to turn more unsettled with some disruption on Friday and Saturday. Bye-bye.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Daily Mail now, and after pro-Palestinian protesters forced their way through police lines, Jeremy Corbyn has been arrested. I've got to be honest, if Jeremy Corbyn can force his way through police lines, maybe the police need to beef up a bit, Paul.
He may well do. Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell face police interview under caution after pro-Palestinian rally in London. The former Labour leader and former Shadow Chancellor, of course, will voluntarily attend a police station today, Monday, with the Metropolitan Police as they investigate the events that took place over the weekend. Look, first things first, both of these will see this as a badge of honour. I would describe them as sort of militant, anti-British types, the sort of people they're remnants of a thing that's very much extinguished now. I know it's tried to reignite under momentum.
The hard left.
I am talking about the hard left, but the militant...
I think the hard left, the militant hard left, are probably stronger than ever.
Well, maybe, but these people... What's unfathomable to me is that these people have been at the very centre of our government.
Yeah.
Within the last decade. I mean, what you haven't seen from these two, and I've checked before we went on air, is either of them making any comment about the release of the hostages. They seem to focus entirely on Palestine, and they would have no problem in supporting Hamas whatsoever. The only reason they wouldn't support Hamas was because it might distract from something else they want to say. But they absolutely believe and support in Hamas.
Well, yeah, it reminds me of when the Islamists marched shoulder to shoulder with the socialists and the hard left in Iran in the 70s to overthrow the Shah. And of course, once they'd done that, the socialists turned around to the Islamists and said, "Oh, so we have a socialist paradise now." And they were like, "No, you can be executed and hung from a crane." So, there are some upsides.
I kind of feel in 1979 that was an allowable mistake. I mean, I was 14. They were a little bit older, but that was the first kind of blush of it, wasn't it? I mean, at this point, surely you have seen what happens. You have seen the process through which Islam moves from, defying Zion and the great Satan. And then what?
And if you're 75 years old and have any intelligence whatsoever, you should realise that communism is an absolute canard. It's like you shouldn't be chasing it.
No, it's like somebody said, I thought it was a very good analogy, said if somebody rushes up to a motorcycle accident and tries to remove the cyclist's helmet, they may not know that you should never do that because that can actually cause them, to bleed out. So I don't know what the detail is, but you shouldn't do that.
Break.
And so you would forgive them if that was a mistake.
Yeah.
But if you find that somebody has been going from motorcycle accident to accident and trying to wrench their helmets up, sooner or later, I think you may have evil intent. That is essentially communism. Yeah. As far as these two are concerned, under custody or just, it sounds like they'll just be questioned. Yeah, it'll be like old days for them. They'll probably sit around and have a cup of Rosie Lee. Quick tour of the police cells. They'll just like the old days. I can't believe Corbyn is 75 now.
Yeah.
He's moving in.
Yeah, he looks about 90.
Yeah.
I still remember him in Steptoe's Son. But it's interesting that his brother, Piers Corbyn, was there. It's interesting that Jeremy is overtaking him as a crank, the #1 crank in the family.
I met Piers Corbyn once at an Oxford Union debate.
Right.
He spoke so entirely, away from the point. I've never seen anyone who he didn't even engage to begin with. He just began talking about the climate hoax. It was absolutely extraordinary. And he gave me his business card afterwards, and it was literally scissored from an A4 photograph. Not even guillotined, slightly wavy lines. Bless him.
Piers Corbyn scissoring. That's something I don't want to see. The Express now, with Labour divided over what to do about rape gangs. Some people want to stop them and bring them to justice, and some people don't. It's so hard picking a side, Simon.
Yes, I mean, that's a slightly Neither of them really want to stop it, to be fair. It seems like there's a little bit of a blame game going on, and it appears that possibly Starmer is suggesting that had he been fully apprised of the facts, he would, in fact, have called for a national inquiry. He would have accepted those calls. He would have embraced that. He thinks that Yvette Cooper, who's his Home Secretary, was not entirely forthcoming with him about all the information, in particular the fact that Oldham Council had requested a national inquiry, that they would rather see it done at that level than have a local one.
Yeah, because I may be wrong, but I thought the story was that Oldham had, rejected the idea of an inquiry. But here it says that they wanted one, but Number 10,
I think
decided
Oldham
it was a bad idea.
didn't want a local inquiry. I think they wanted it to be done. But I mean, I think there's an awful lot of people kind of going, no, we said, you said, you said, you said.
Yeah,
this,
it's like in Chernobyl.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are saying it is our Chernobyl. It's the left's Chernobyl, But actually, I think it's vastly worse than Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Chernobyl was just trying to cover up for incompetence, whereas I'm absolutely convinced there's far worse than incompetence.
At least with Chernobyl, you don't
have this South Yorkshire police were afraid of being called racist. We all know what South Yorkshire police are capable of.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that there is a lot worse than, fears of damaging community relations lies under this crust.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this is, as Simon sort of suggested, this is almost an extinction level event for wokeism. This is really, pulled off the Band-Aid and shown everybody the suppurating wound and shown that, these supposedly noble intentions of trying to not appear racist can actually manifest themselves in looking the other way while little girls are raped and killed.
Well, the advantage of Chernobyl is you don't have to live there after the atrocity. You have to live away from it. Whereas all of these towns, all 50 plus of them, people still have to live there. They don't just have to live there, they have to live there once the people that have been convicted of their rape are let out from prison, not deported home, and get to live in the same town also. Yeah. And I'm calling BS on this whole story because I don't think these two are falling out. I think that Keir Starmer is now starting to see the gravitas of this whole thing, which is remarkable. At any point during this debate in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, he could have at any point turned around and said, we may have made a mistake here, let's have a national inquiry.
In fact, he wouldn't even have really needed to say, we made a mistake. He could have said, this has forced its way up the agenda, fine, something like that. But he actually played it very cleverly when it was talking about the small boats, right? He was saying that the Boris wave was an unannounced but an obvious de facto experiment with open borders, which had been a catastrophe. Suddenly he turned that all back on the Conservatives. He had the opportunity to do this. 14 years of Conservative rule, a national inquiry which delivered 20 or 22 proposals, none of which have been acted upon.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it was a wide open goal.
Yeah.
And he's skied it. I agree with you about Chernobyl, although I will say this. There's an awful lot of wildlife in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
It's actually virtually a wildlife sanctuary, and it's not nearly as toxic as everyone has thought. And actually, there's a few...
But I'm looking for a cheap holiday, son.
Apparently, Russian troops dug in there. And, in the early days of the invasion, they dug in there. And, of course, a lot of the radiation is still there. It's just subsumed into the topsoil. Yeah. So, but if you dig it up, you get exposed. So a lot of Russian troops got radiation sickness and had to leave.
No superpowers.
No, apparently not, because it's taken them more than 3 days to take Kyiv. But we've got the Daily Mail now, and apparently most Americans can't remember a single thing that Joe Biden did during his presidency, although, to be fair, neither can he, Paul.
I just saw that coming a mile off. Biden's final humiliation, the Mail writes. Most Americans can't name one success and will remember him for doing nothing. So this was a poll of 1,009 registered voters were asked for their brief description of the legacy of Biden. And they produced one of these word clouds, where you see the most words, the most common words were used. And the most common word above all else was nothing. Nothing. Okay?
And vastly so. If the word cloud was accurate, it absolutely dominated
it was just nothing. Second to that, by the way, was economy, inflation and infrastructure. Not in a positive way at all.
An achievement.
I think, the catastrophe of the Afghanistan exit should be right up there. That will be his ultimate legacy. And for being the first president with dementia, of course.
I think if I was to play devil's advocate for the whole thing, I would say that the way they lured Russia into attacking Ukraine was a huge win for America, which has absolutely shored up their energy industry.
And also made Europe
a blinder there,
and made Europe step up to the plate and start funding NATO more.
Absolutely, yeah. To be absolutely fair to him, he did show some skill at cross-party, bipartisan legislation. I believe they have had some success with their infrastructure, and their economy is probably in a better shape than Europe's at the moment. They haven't had a bad 4 years, to be truthful.
Yeah.
But he himself, I think, will be forgotten very, very quickly. It's funny, isn't it, how some prime ministers are. We talked about it when John Major left, I remember all those years ago. You just felt he was a sort of, a cipher, a punctuation mark.
Yeah. Yeah, even though he set in place some of the policies that then Tony Blair took credit for.
Absolutely, it's often the way, you know, and again, Jimmy Carter. But, yeah, I mean, the way he ended his administration, he's lucky that people aren't more angry, to be honest.
yeah. We've got the
Nothing is a win.
Yeah. We've got the Daily Mail now with the shocking cost of violent assaults on NHS staff, and the cost would probably be higher if they weren't in a place where they could get immediate treatment.
Yes, interesting that, well, I say fairly interesting. £31 million was paid out, and almost exactly the same amount again going to the lawyers as well.
Injury lawyers for you always get most of the money.
Yeah, I mean, some of these sound like they were absolute bargains. A healthcare assistant got 55 grand after a dementia sufferer kicked her, pulled her hair and held her face against a kitchen worktop.
Jeez.
I mean, that is like an average day when you're raising a toddler. 55 grand for that. I mean, it may have been shocking, it may have been upsetting, but that seems to be quite generous. Somebody got nearly £500,000 after someone threw a television at her. I mean, you know...
Well, some of these big plasmas, I mean...
Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, listen, I mean, the courts decide, but... my feeling, my wife was in A&E recently and she did say, this is in Brighton, where apparently Brighton residents know to try and get to Haywards Heath if they can, or whatever. Brighton is apparently particularly awful. Drug abuse and low-life criminal scum. And she said it was just so she couldn't bear it. She left. You know, it was
decided
so
not to kill.
Yeah. Well, she had a... it's a long story, but she could get to another one. Basically, she got to a different, branch. But... yeah, they are unpleasant places to be, and staff should probably learn how to handle themselves.
Yeah, some Krav Maga lessons.
Yeah.
Still to come in the second half, Sadiq Khan calls Trump a fascist. It's great to see the mayor building bridges with the leader of the free world. And a teacher is forced into hiding after a fake racism video. And NHS midwives are learning about white privilege. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you were hoping to escape to the Mediterranean this week for some sunshine, I'm afraid you might be disappointed. It is quite unsettled at the moment. A storm system just off the coast of Iberia is bringing outbreaks of heavy rain for parts of Madeira, the Canary Islands into Portugal and Spain. We've also got the remnants of Storm Gabri still lingering around parts of Italy, bringing some heavy showers here, also through the Adriatic as well. These heavy showers could continue over the next few days, but it might turn a touch more settled further west later on.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Lauren, let's start with this, shall we? How children's TV may be harming, not helping young minds.
Yeah, so this is an article in the Express today, a big double-page spread as a result of some new research in a new book that's coming out by a child psychologist, saying that children's television, and I think perhaps more importantly, the way that children consume television and video product now is perhaps not as healthy for them as we would hope it would be. And there's quite some distance from children's television of the past, of the sort of the Bagpuss and Clangers and Ivor the Engine era. And I think what's interesting about this is particularly the how children's television is consumed angle, because children are now put in front of screens significantly more often than they were, certainly when I think we were growing up. The content that they are consuming is not great for their brains and their learning and development, which Floella Benjamin of children's television fame is now leading a big crusade to say that some of this is really, really bad for children.
These days, they're not watching the TV that we all watched when we were growing up. They're not even watching GB News in the morning.
What are they thinking?
Would you believe it? But they are watching this absolute drivel all day long on YouTube, and because obviously all our TVs are now connected to the internet, or they're getting TikTok on their TV. It's not even, so they don't even necessarily have to have smartphones or iPads. They can just watch this stuff on TV, and it is rubbish. They are watching it and they're obsessed with it. Oh God, Skibbity Toilet or something. Have you heard of this?
No.
No? Well, you'll have viewers who have got who are parents of sort of 13-year-olds, and this Skibbity Toilet thing is, they're all obsessed with it, and this is a really annoying sort of theme tune or thing that they sing at you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Daily Mail now, and Sadiq Khan has called Donald Trump a fascist. I mean, I like Trump, but I don't think he's that good, Paul.
Minister slaps down Sadiq Khan over resurgent fascism jibe at Donald Trump as Labour scrambles to forge its ties with new president. Well, this is one way not to go about it. The Labour mayor fuelled his long-running feud with the returning president by urging Labour and the left, same thing, to confront the forces of reactionary populism. So, I mean, this is peak Sadiq Khan, really, isn't it? It's all activism without substance. He's just saying the things he thinks. I mean, why wouldn't he try and say? Why wouldn't he say these things? Why would he try and build?
I've got a reason that he shouldn't say these things. Him and Starmer both do this. They throw around words like racist and fascist that have completely denatured their meanings and stripped all meaning from them. Now, fascist means somebody who doesn't like little girls being killed or doesn't like rape gangs.
My point is, he doesn't care for the meaning of the words. He doesn't care for anything other than having a jibe, as they call it in here, at Donald Trump. At this point, there's no intelligence involved. It's just Donald Trump bad, we're going to say things about him. Simple.
I think the word fascism should only be used by teenagers and historians. There's no place in this modern world for using that. Certainly not somebody who's basically got Billy Ray Cyrus. People.
It's amazing.
Absolutely absurd. Sadiq Khan is a very tiresome and provoking little muppet, though, isn't he? He really is. You know, he doesn't do his job terribly well. He gets knighted in a SOP for his constituency, but he is extraordinarily abrasive and
he's kind of built an elective dictatorship for himself, because London is now, it's not Cockneys anymore. It's basically a city of immigrants.
Windrush Lane from East Ham to Stratford or whatever, isn't it? Yeah, I do feel that he has this kind of weird Mott and Bailey approach because he's the mayor of London, so he can say outrageous things that you could never get away with if you were Prime Minister. It would be, obviously, it would be career-ending for Starmer to say something like that. He feels he can do that because he's not actually in charge of the entire state, but he is capable of causing damage. You know, he is getting enough of a platform out of it. He's not just I don't know, TV personality or something, you know. And London is essentially, I mean, people always say, you know, California is the 5th largest economy in the world, bigger than Britain and heading towards India. London is kind of like that within Britain. You know, London's economy, people wishing to do business with London, that's a really significant part of our prosperity.
Absolutely, although it's starting to teeter now as millionaires leave and the prime property market in London crashes. We've got the Guardian now, and another teacher has been forced into hiding, this time not over cartoons of Mohammed, but over AI-generated racism, Paul.
Yeah, another worrying story. West Midlands teacher was forced into hiding after doctor video alleged she had made racist slurs. So this is Cheryl Bennett. PE teacher from Wednesbury in the West Midlands was helping a colleague, Christine McGool, hand out Labour leaflets during local elections in May last year, and she was recorded on a household security camera. Soon after, the footage of her leaving the property appeared online with subtitles falsely alleging she had used racist language, including a slur against Pakistani people. And I can't figure it out, Leo, but there appears to be this connection between... there appears to be this connection between but between people in hiding and Islam that I just can't put my finger on, and I'm not willing to right now.
I think it's the seriousness of the threat, to be honest.
It's really hard to understand what the intention is, though. What's the incentive? She was actually literally helping, by the name Qasim Mughal, her friend, hand out label leaflets. That sounds like an Islamic name to me, Mughal, right?
Yeah.
I would assume. So why have they...
I don't think it originated in Cornwall.
No. So why are they trying to doctor it? And then it's been shared by this guy, Ahmed Yaqub, who is the face of
He's an
UK
interesting
aesthetics.
guy. He's an interesting guy. He's like a Lamborghini lawyer who's represented all kinds of people, represented the Manchester airport.
Even if you did the crime, it doesn't mean you're guilty. That's his slogan.
That's what I want my lawyer to say.
There are a lot of lawyers operated on that basis, but
OK, let's quickly squeeze this one in. It's the Daily Mail with the latest woke insanity in the NHS. Midwives are being taught about decolonisation and white privilege. Can't they just focus on getting the baby out, Simon?
I mean, I honestly do wonder if these things are just inserted to raise my blood pressure. Midwifery is an extremely important skill.
Oh,
you know? And giving birth is an extraordinarily sensitive and painful and dangerous. Not dangerous, I don't want to say it's dangerous, but you feel like there's danger in the air, and a good midwife can help to.
I've seen it, so they don't need to learn about white privilege. They need to focus on getting that baby out safe. Anyway, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. The Express has home after 471 days in hell. That's the hostages freed from Gaza. The Telegraph has Starmer races for Trump trade deal. Let's see if Trump is listening. The Times has 3 hostages are freed into their mother's arms. There's the picture there of Emily. The Eye has historic hostage swap begins in Middle East as world readies for Trump 2.0. The Guardian has hostages out as Trump hold. The Daily Star has the fry up deviants. And that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests Simon and Paul. Headliners will be back at tomorrow night 11 p.m. with Josh Howie, Simon Evans and Lewis Schaefer. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, repeat 5 a.m, then stay tuned for breakfast. See you later.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Hope you've had a lovely weekend, though count yourself lucky if you have seen some sunshine. Most of us have been plagued by gloomy and grey skies, and this is continuing into this evening and overnight. There'll be some outbreaks of light rain and drizzle around, particularly for Northern Ireland and Western Scotland. Eastern Scotland, other areas of England and Wales could see the cloud breaking at times tonight, but underneath those clearer spells, temperatures will drop off and we could see some patchy frost around to start off Monday morning. Even if you don't see the frost, it is certainly going to be a chilly start to the new week for the vast majority of us. There could be also some mist and fog patches around first thing, so it is just worth taking a little care when you're travelling back to work on Monday morning in case those are around. These outbreaks of rain then will be across coastal areas of County Down, stretching into Dumfries and Galloway in the central belt of Scotland first thing on Monday. Northern and western areas of Scotland starting to see some clearer and brighter spells developing, and really it is northern Scotland that has the greatest chance of seeing some sunshine on Monday. This will be coming though with some showers that will start feeding into the far northwest. Some of those could be quite heavy at times, with some hail, even thunder in the mixture as well. The outbreaks of rain just pushing their way into northern England, stretching into parts of Wales as well. Otherwise, it is once again going to be a largely cloudy day. Temperatures ranging between 4 and 9 degrees Celsius. On Tuesday, we see an area of low pressure just push its way a little bit further towards the northwest of the UK, and an included front here will help to pep up some of those showers across northwestern areas of Scotland in particular. So again, it's a case of scattered showers with some brighter or sunnier spells here once any of that morning fog clears its way off. We've got another band that will still be lingering across more central and northern areas of England into Tuesday, but perhaps elsewhere Tuesday will see the greater chance of some sunshine developing at times. But it won't last for too long, because into the rest of next week it is likely to turn more unsettled with some disruption on Friday and Saturday. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. £50,000 in tax-free cash. How would you react if you won?
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Amazing. Just the best feeling ever.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
for another chance to win. Text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This January, history will be made again.
Join GB News as we bring you full coverage of Donald Trump's presidential inauguration.
From the swearing-in ceremony to the celebrations, we'll be there to capture every moment that shapes the next chapter of world politics.
The best guests, live updates and unparalleled insight as Donald Trump becomes the 47th President of the United States. The inauguration tomorrow from 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Josh Howie. This is Free Speech Nation. Join us for PayPal debanking, cancellations from the music world, the view of UK free speech from the US, taking the government to court and Wikipedia bias, and comedians answering some crazy culture developments from a live studio audience. But first, the news.
Josh, thank you, and good evening. The top story. Sir Keir Starmer says the release of 3 hostages from Hamas captivity, including British citizen Emily Damari, is wonderful news after months of agony for them and their families. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has also welcomed their release. He said, "Our thoughts are also with those still waiting to be reunited with their loved ones." Earlier today, the Red Cross said that all 3 released hostages were in good health. Emily's mother has thanked everyone who never stopped fighting for her throughout this horrendous ordeal. She says her daughter is finally home. And a photograph has since been posted on X of the 2 of them together since her release. There were chaotic scenes in Gaza City as the 3 female hostages were released after more than 470 days in captivity, along with 28-year-old